under the Treaty of Guarantee, there are no obligations to either of the communities. It's to protect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the Republic of Cyprus. So when Turkey sent in its troops on the 20th of July, it could only do that to protect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the Republic of Cyprus and to restore constitutional order. That's not what they did on the 20th of July.
Look, we can't ignore the fact that it was started by IOCA. That was the start of the problems. The start of the problems was IOCA, and we had a president, the first president of the Republic of Cyprus, who wanted Inosis, was calling for it openly.
You can debate the history of this. I think the upshot is, both communities did do wrong.
Britain, they are known for it. It's the oldest playbook in the world. Divide and conquer. They create tensions and then they step in with the solution. Here we are with the solution. And then it always results in them having some sort of sovereign British territories or, having some sort of control over somewhere. That's the oldest play in the book.
Yes, we condemn the period of intercommunal violence. We condemn the coup, because you're right. That was not a great part of Cyprus's history for anyone. Yeah. But we need to move forward and look at what we do in the future.
Right, what is happening, my peeps? We're here today with a very, very special guest, Christos Karaolis, who is the president of the Federation of Cypriots in the UK. And now, this is a second part of a series of episodes that I wanted to do. Basically, the first episode we've already recorded. This is the second episode, and we're going to be talking about the Cyprus issue. Christos, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the Federation, please?
Thank you.
I'm very happy to have you on. Yes.
Hello. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thank you for having me on. My name's Christos Karaolis. I'm the president of the National Federation of Cypriots in the UK. The Federation was formed in 1974, immediately after the Turkish invasion, with a view to giving the Cypriot community a united and organised voice to lobby on the Cyprus issue. We have 85 member organisations across all the communities of Cyprus, and as time has evolved, so has our mission. So yes, of course, we continue to advocate on the Cyprus issue and the reunification of the island, but as our diaspora has moved into its second and third and fourth generation, we also do work on advancing and promoting our diaspora here in the UK. So that's a bit about what we do.
Amazing. A little bit about yourself then, Christos. How did you get into becoming the president of the Federation? What led you to get to that position?
So look, I've always been involved in the Cypriot community from a young age. I think my parents tell me that I would be going on demos they were pushing me in a pram before I could walk. So I've always been involved in the Cypriot community. And back in 2002, the youth of the Federation, Nebomak, was being established. And my parents said, there was a conference, go out, get involved. So I did. I got involved in Nebomak, the World Organization for Young Overseas Cypriots, which is the youth of the Federation and the youth of the diaspora globally. I led that from 2006, 2014, and then stepped down from Nebomak in 2014. 2015, my predecessor as president of the Federation was stepping down, and people asked me to take over the role, and I put my name forward and got elected.
So there is an election process?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have an election process. So our 85 member associations all have delegates who they send to a conference, and people put their names forward for officerships. Someone ran against me, we had a vote, and
How many people voted?
We had, because it's delegates from our associations, I think we had something like 115.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not individuals that vote, it's delegates from our associations. Okay. And each association has one or two delegates, depending on their size.
Mm. And those obviously those organisations have their own members as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's why we are a federation of organisations as opposed to a federation of individuals. So you can't join the federation directly. You join an association. An association then appoints you as one of their delegates, and then you get on the board of the federation.
And that position, is it does it have a lifeline, or is it just until you decide to step down?
So all our officerships are term limited for 4 terms. The exception is the president. So the president of the federation, if they command a 2/3 majority at our electoral conference, their term can be extended.
Okay.
But all the other
and the term is how long?
term is 2 years.
2 years, okay.
So we had our elections recently in May, and I was unanimously re-elected as president.
Okay. So you are the president for the foreseeable future.
Well, no, until May 27. It's a 2-year term.
2 year term.
But they like what you're doing, basically.
I would like to think so. I'd like to think so.
That's good, man.
Yeah, well, I must say, I've just met you for the first time now, and you seem like a very open, honest guy. So I'm very happy you're the president of this federation. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's very kind.
All right. So yeah, I think we'll just start off a similar sort of format how I started off the other one. I just want to be open and, lay my whole cards down on the table, what I want, how I want the Cyprus issue to be resolved. So me personally, I've always wanted a united federal solution.
Yep.
I've wanted that ever since I can remember. I was born into the Cyprus issue, as probably you was as well. Yeah. I am both Turkish Cypriot and Greek Cypriot. I don't know if I told you that already. No. Yeah. So yeah. I'm a mixed kebab.
That's true of a lot of the community, right? Especially pre-74, right?
Some people don't even know it as well. If you get your DNA checked, this Greek and Turkish Cypriot is very closely linked here. So Christos, I'm assuming you have the same.
So for me, absolutely. So me personally, but also as a federation, our policy is absolutely that we want the island reunited in line with the agreed UN framework. That's absolutely what we want. And frankly, that's what all our member associations want. We're kind of unequivocal on that.
With the agreed UN framework?
Yes. So bi-zonal, bi-common federation with political equality, a single citizenship, sovereignty and identity.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I think that brings us nicely on to the next point is we won't go into too much detail about, prehistoric history in Cyprus and whatever. I think we'll just I think it might be better if we sort of work backwards. So since 74 and today's date, there's been numerous sort of peace talks trying to reunify the island. Which would you say is the closest we've come to reunify him?
Well, look, I mean, they came very close in Crans, Montana in 2017. It seems like, it's easy to say you come close and there's only a few issues to resolve. Those issues are inherently the thorniest issues, right? It's around the final bit on territory, the final bit on, security, be it guarantees, be it troops. But yeah, they came close. And that's why, what we're saying is actually there's a huge body of work that has gone into the Cyprus issue over the last 50 years. And so talks need to resume from where they stopped in Crans, because that's the closest we came. So pick up those last few remaining issues and work through it.
What were those last issues?
So specifically it was around territory. So for each of the constituent states, the Greek Cypriot constituent state and the Turkish Cypriot constituent state, how much territory would each of those states have? Okay. And it's not even that. It was very specific. So they were debating over specific towns. So Morphu, what happens in Karpas. So it's understanding what the kind of the state line boundaries would be. And I mean constituent state line boundaries. Second thing was around security. So there's two parts to security. So that's the issue of guarantees. So
I think that was the biggest issue with
the biggest one.
Yeah. So for Greek Cypriots, they wanted the removal of all guarantees so there are three guarantor powers for the benefit of your viewers. There's Turkey, Greece, and the United Kingdom. And actually, technically, the Republic of Cyprus is a guarantor, but nobody really references that. But the Greek Cypriots want those guarantees gone. For Turkish Cypriots, they want guarantees to remain. So figuring out what you do and how you deal with so for Greek Cypriots, they view guarantees as a source of inherent insecurity because of what happened in 1974. For Turkish Cypriots, they want some form of protection so that they're not, abused or mistreated. So figuring out a formula of what you do. But now you've got the UN, you've got the EU, you've got NATO, you've got many other forms that you could be talking about in terms of multilateral guarantees. And then the second thing was troops. So Greek Cypriots want the removal of all foreign troops. So in Cyprus, under the 1960 constitution, there is a contingent of troops from Greece and obviously troops from Cyprus. troops from Turkey. Those troops from Turkey have obviously been massively exacerbated post the invasion. So now there's kind of 40,000 or so. Some reports of up to 100,000 recently. Greek Cypriots want those troops gone. Turkish Cypriots want those troops to remain. And where they were debating...
I think under the Crans-Montana, it was the pre-constitution amount of troops to remain, wasn't it?
So under the 1960 constitution, there's a contingent of... It provides for a contingent of 950 Greek troops and 650 Turkish troops. But there was also... What they were fundamentally debating was the difference between a sunset clause and a review clause. So Turkey was saying, we want a review clause. So in
15 years
time, let's review where the troops remain. And if all parties agree, then they can go. For Greek Cypriots, they said, no, we want a defined sunset clause, i.e. they go. Now, the problem with the review clause is inherently that gives one party a veto. So if Turkey doesn't want troops to go, they're not going.
Yeah.
That's the issue with the review clause, and that's why the then President Anastasiades said that's not going to fly. There needs to be a clear sunset clause. They can taper down over time, but there needs to be a defined endpoint that everyone agrees to. And then we need to talk about how you implement any solution.
Yeah. Another card I'd like to just lay out on the table right now. I am fully for removing troops from the island as well. I want all foreign entities from the island gone, because ultimately that's what's led us to this problem. I think everyone wants a piece of the pie of Cyprus. We've got I lose count now. It's like the UK, Turkey, Greece, the UN. We've got Israel moving in somehow sneakily under the table. It's like we need all of these foreign entities gone, so we can just be the Republic of Cyprus or the United Republic of Cyprus or whatever federal solution we come to.
Look, I think as you say, if the Cyprus issue was left to Cypriots, it probably would have been resolved by now.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's not left just to Cypriots to solve.
There's always others at the table, isn't there? Yeah. So with the Crans-Montana peace talks, if it had,
When was the Crans-Montana?
It started, I think, was it 2017, wasn't it?
Oh, right.
Where they always go on for several years. Whatever peace talks it is, they usually last between 1 to 5 years or something.
When was the one before that then?
Well, the most significant one before that would probably have been the Annan plan, wouldn't it?
2004.
I would say that was probably actually the closest we got, because that made it to referendum, didn't it?
It did, but the issue with the Annan plan and why the framework... So the Annan plan was arbitrated and imposed by the UN. So it wasn't ever agreed by the leaders. And that's why you ended up with... There were fundamental...
Well, they agreed to send it to referendum, didn't they? But that's when it collapsed.
I mean, exactly. But
most of the terms within that plan were just... they didn't, consult with the Cypriot people, and that's why it ultimately failed.
And that's why now the UN talks about a Cypriot-owned and a Cypriot-led process. Because I think collectively the lesson has been learned that actually if Cypriots don't own the process, own the outcome, and it's imposed... It's not going to carry.
And I think that is a lesson every Cypriot on planet Earth needs to learn to move into the future, because that's what's got us to this problem of just relying on other people.
Yeah.
But so if the Crans-Montana plan had made it past, the agreement stage and gone to referendum, do you think it would have actually
got through?
Or got through with the referendums?
Look, I think if it had got through Crans, it would have meant inherently the then president Anastasiades would have supported it. So his political party, Disi, would have carried it. I'm talking about the Greek Cypriot side. We'll get to the Turkish Cypriot side in a sec. And
I have no doubt the Turkish Cypriots would have voted yes, because they voted yes with the Annan plan, didn't they?
And Akinci carried support.
Yeah, so, the question is, would the Greek Cypriots have voted yes?
Look, I think so? If Anastasiades had signed off on the plan, Disi would have carried it. Agel at the time was saying, we fully back what the president is doing. So I'm pretty sure Agel would have carried it. So I think it would have got through, because one of the issues, again, assuming you resolve the territory issue, assuming you resolve the removal of troops and guarantees issue.
I think the territory, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the territory issues, they
came within 1% or 2%.
Yeah.
So it's very close.
Yeah. I think the main issue was the troops, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's troops and
Turkish Cypriots wanted troops and guarantees. Greek Cypriots want absolutely none.
Yeah.
Which is understandable from both sides because obviously we know what happened.
Yeah, but there's other forms that you have today of providing security for both communities.
Yeah.
And so the security of one community shouldn't come at the expense of the security of the other. Yeah. So I think, Cyprus is a member of the EU. You can look to the EU to provide security.
Yeah.
There's many other solutions in the way today Cyprus finds
raised a really good one in the last episode. The last episode I said is like, right now, we've got the conscription, where every male in Cyprus has to enlist in the army. So you've got to look at it like, for example, the population in the north is about 300,000 or so, whatever. Let's assume half of them are men. We've got around 130,000 trained soldiers in the north, isn't there?
Yeah.
That in itself is a guarantee in my eyes. And they are Cypriots. They're not foreign entities.
Yeah.
These are things that I think needed to maybe have been taken into consideration.
Do you think that's the solution? Do you think that's
Yeah, I think it's definitely a part of the solution.
I think that makes sense. Like, how could it not? Like, instead of like relying on someone else, you just rely on your own troops. It's fine.
Yeah, look, I mean, but that's what I think. You never get into that discussion because, the current Turkish Cypriot leadership is adamant on there needs to be Turkish guarantees. We need to have Turkish troops. They won't move beyond exploring other solutions.
That's the problem. The current incumbent he is going to be a problem. He's definitely going to be a problem for the reunifying of that. He's the first president of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus that actually doesn't want to unite the island. He wants to keep it two states. Yeah,
he's been unequivocal that he wants partition of the island, and he won't. He doesn't want to talk about reunification.
Yeah, the first president. I mean, there hasn't been many, but this is like a sort of dramatic shift in the political
the
landscape.
people agree with him because they voted.
No,
him, right?
they don't. But there is a percentage that do. Yeah, he's got a lot.
What percentage? How?
At the moment, well, it's difficult to say. And we're getting very close to. They've got elections in the north next month. We're only a few weeks away from it now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and we won't go into too much detail, or whatever. But there's two candidates, and they're both looking. It's looking like a very close two-horse race at the moment. We've got Erdogan, who is pro-federal solution, and then Tatar, who is two-state solution.
Yeah.
So whoever wins this election, we could see Cyprus going in a different direction over the next few years.
Yeah, that's mad. That's a big change as well, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, that's.
It will, depending on it will determine your kind of prospects for talks. And so the UN has already, just in terms of what the UN's doing, so President Christos Karaolis and Mr. Tatar are meeting out in New York on the sidelines of the General Assembly at the end of September. I think the date is the 27th or so. And then the UN has said there will be a 5-party meeting, so the 2 leaders and the 3 guarantors later this year. They haven't set a date yet, but all the talk is that it's going to be after the 19th of October, which is when they're due to have the elections in the north. So the new Turkish Cypriot leader will be going to that 5-party meeting later in the year.
And I think that is the most sensible way of going about things. Because in the past, we've started peace talks before elections, and then we've had elections with a new party leader come into power who wanted slightly different things, and that's always been a bit of a roadblock for the Cyprus issue as well.
Yeah.
So definitely, I heard you mention, so I'll be attacked from all angles if I don't if I don't bring this up. So you mentioned the Turkish invasion.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that and what you mean by that and the dates exactly. And
so, look, the historical facts in 1974, on the 15th of July, there was a Greek military junta coup. Yeah. That coup lasted until the 22nd of July, when the kind of person that was installed, Samson, was replaced by Christos Karaolis, who was the then president of the Cypriot Parliament, who became the acting president of the Republic of Cyprus. On the 20th of July, Turkey sent a garrison of troops to the north of the island to form and occupied 3% of the territory by Kyrenia.
Okay.
On the 20th of July. Now, under the Treaty of Guarantee, the 3 guarantor powers of the Republic of Cyprus have specifically reserved powers and their only obligation is to protect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the Republic of Cyprus. Under the Treaty of Guarantee, there are no obligations to either of the communities. It's to protect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the Republic of Cyprus. So when Turkey sent in its troops on the 20th of July, it could only do that to protect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the Republic of Cyprus and to restore constitutional order. That's not what they did on the 20th of July. They
What
sent
did you
it.
feel they did, Tom?
It was an invasion because they sent in.
You imagine you feel.
It's,
This is always going to be a point of contention.
I agree.
It's always going to be
yeah.
a point of contention, and I have a different opinion.
I
but
mean,
yeah, go on.
I welcome that, right?
Yeah.
But when they sent in troops on the 20th of July, they took 3% of the territory up by Kyrenia. Under the Treaty of Guarantee, they could only intervene to restore constitutional order. That's not what they did. They sent in troops to form a garrison in Gerinia. That was not a power that they had under the Treaty of Guarantee, number one. Number two, they then sent in a second wave of troops on the 14th of August. By that stage, constitutional order had been restored. Glafkos Kleridis was the acting president of the Republic of Cyprus as of the 23rd of July. So it meant that they had
Where was Makarios at this point?
He'd fled the island with the help of the Brits. But you had an acting president on the island. And under the Treaty of Guarantee, Turkey could not, their only right of it, A, they had to consult with other guarantors, which they didn't, and B, their only right to intervene was to restore constitutional order. You tell me what Turkey did by sending in 40,000 troops and forming a garrison around Gerinia. How was that restoring constitutional order?
Entering in August, that is always going to probably be referred to as an invasion. I did notice, though, when you mentioned the 15th of July,
Yeah.
would you call that an invasion from the Greeks?
It was it was a coup that lasted 7 days. It was a Greek military junta coup.
Yeah. But they took over the government and installed a president, didn't they?
For 7 days.
Yeah. But would that be an invasion, would you say, or?
Look, well, no, because it was a coup that lasted 7 days. The invasion, an invasion is something. Personally, I talk about invasion and continued occupation because you don't have one without the other, and that's why for me the coup, because it was.
So would you call it a failed invasion?
It was a failed coup.
But what is a coup?
Well, it's
A coup
trying to.
is
It's
an
to over.
invasion,
Well, no, it's but it's to overthrow an elected government.
But
That's
they did, didn't
yes,
they? They
no, that's
successfully
right.
did it. So it
For
was
7 days.
Yes, so a successful for it was slightly less. Yes, they called him the 1 week president. didn't
Yeah,
they?
exactly.
That was his nigga.
Yeah.
But it technically then be a successful invasion for 1 week, which failed.
You're splitting. I mean, I wouldn't call something that lasts 7 days a success. But
I'm with you there, but I mean, during those 7 days, it felt very real, didn't it? Right, the Greeks have landed and they've took over, and this looks like the annexation of the island to Greece.
no, but by the time, by the time Turkey said, sorry, were you going to say something?
No. I'll just you carry on saying. But I'm just basically saying. So you're saying the North needed to do that. It was like they felt like they had to do that because they were already being invaded.
Well, no,
That's your
what I'm
point,
trying
basically.
let me be clear what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying because, and I completely understand the technicalities and everything,
Yes.
whatever. But,
But it's
just
not- it's the law.
I feel we're never going to successfully move into the future, as brothers and sisters, Greek Cypriots, Turkish, if we don't just fully accept what happened. And one thing Greek Cypriots always have a problem with doing is accepting that the Greeks invaded the island. Because they did. It's always referred to as the Turkish invasion. Although it was only a 1 week, failed attempt.
But did they
It
overstep
technically-
any territorial boundaries and stuff?
No,
'Cause
yeah, they did. They came
They
to the
overthrew the
island
government.
and took over the
Oh,
whole
the
island.
whole-
That's
the whole
it.
shit. Oh, okay.
Installed a new president. That's
Yes.
it. The island is now Greece.
Well,
basically.
then
That
you
was
can
it.
say Turkish getting involved like that was justified then, and overstepping their boundaries.
Morally, this is where legality and morally, this is where this is the problem with the Cyprus issue, because we've got legal puts the Greek Cypriot administration always in the right. But when you look at things from a moral perspective, it's very hard to ignore, everything that happened.
But look, but we live in a system that's governed by international law, right? And that's why I and the Federation openly condemns what happened with the coup. We absolutely do not support what happened with the coup, right? It was an attempt to overthrow the democratically elected government of Cyprus. And thankfully, it didn't last long, and Glafkos became the acting president after 7 days. So constitutional order was restored. And so for me, yes, we condemn the coup, but equally what you can't do is equate a 7-day coup with a 51-year occupation, right? Which is why, for me, what I will often talk about is the ongoing occupation of Cyprus, because that is an existing fact today. There's a reason why no country in the world other than Turkey recognizes the regime in the north, because it persists. You can debate the history, but what you can't debate is that there's a 51-year-long occupation, and trying to kind of level out and justify the two, that's where.
Well, in some ways, it's like they tried it. Like the Greeks tried it, and they were like, and Turks were like,
they gave it a full.
They had to like hold back, and I'm looking at it so like.
You gotta look at it like this. Like imagine, Turkish Cypriots are the little kid in the playground.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Turks are the older kid in the playground, and that's their cousin. Let's call it their cousin in the playground. And they see their little cousin getting bullied.
Yeah.
And they had to step in, sort of thing. And
they're not going because they're worried it's going to happen again.
But although they broke the school rules by doing that.
Okay, great.
If they didn't do that, their little cousin's just going to get bullied forever.
But didn't Turkish go a bit too far though? Isn't that the real problem?
Well, this is if Turkey didn't step in, let's be honest, I don't think Turkish Cypriots would exist in Cyprus today. We saw it in Crete,
But you said it's only a 7-day coup though, so they probably would.
But this is the thing: if Turkey didn't step in, these fanatic, I'd say they are Greek Cypriots, but they're fanatics to unify the island with Greece. Trying to achieve a gnosis. They probably would have achieved it if there wasn't any resistance.
They wouldn't.
They would have tried again, probably though.
They would.
Maybe, possibly.
But we had a president at the time, Makarios, was calling for it. He
post the late 60s, he absolutely moved away from that. Right there. The Plaza plan, that was a UN kind of spoken about plan in the late 60s, was talking about a federal state, and Magarios was happy to entertain that. So Magarios had moved away from the idea of enosis because he realized it wasn't going to fly. So and by 1974, a lot of the intercommunal troubles had settled. Right, they had settled by the late 60s. The intercommunal troubles were 1964 to 67. And you had Amphissip on the island from 64.
A lot of people would disagree with you there.
Give me examples in the 70s of intercommunal troubles.
I mean, we can look at so many. You've got like the enclaves. All right, specifically, we can look at the enclave. It's called Erenkoe by in Greek, Kokina.
Yeah.
That village itself is a prime example.
But my point is there wasn't the violence between the two communities. So to say that your assertion that Turkish Cypriots would have been wiped out presupposes there was ongoing violence, which there wasn't in the 70s.
But at that point there, the Turkish Cypriots have already been pushed out of their homes. They've already been basically made, I don't know what to call it, prisoners in their own country.
Look, at
that point there, if you want to, divide the Greek Cypriots were winning in the fight, so to speak.
You're going to end up in historical debate around whether Turkish Cypriots were being pushed out of their homes or forming enclaves in order to get partition of the island, right? So if you want to get into the history of it, in 1956, Nihat Erim, who was the then advisor to the Turkish Prime Minister on Cyprus, as they were talking about solutions for Cypriot, what would happen post-colonial rule, obviously, as you say, Greek Cypriots were talking about enosis, Turkish Cypriots were talking about partition.
Taksim.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, if they didn't flee their homes and move into, Turkish Cypriot communities and enclaves, they would have been killed. That was happening.
I don't disagree with you, right? Of course, there was.
I'm very happy you agree with me.
Look, because
This is one of the biggest problems, though.
But both communities. No, my point is, both communities were committing atrocities.
Well,
They were. You had the TMT operating in Cyprus.
go on, TMT.
The TMT was not only killing Greek Cypriots, but was also killing Turkish Cypriots. A lot of Turkish Cypriot journalists were killed by the TMT. Mosques were attacked by the TMT to stoke up intercommunal tension.
The TMT was an organization founded specifically to protect Turkish Cypriots. That was it. That was their goal. To resist against the Greek nationalists that were trying to push them out of the island.
But we can
That was their sole aim, just to protect the Turkish Cypriots. Obviously, at times, the fight can get heated and there might have been some attacks back, but that was what their goal was, to protect.
But you're saying they were doing some dodgy stuff as well.
Okay, so let's. So in 1958, a Turkish Cypriot journalist, Fazıl Order, was murdered by the TMT. In 1958, the TMT bombed the Turkish Cypriot consulate to frame Greek Cypriots, and as admitted to by Denktash. In 1962, the Turkish Cypriot journalists Ayman Hikmet and Ahmet Gökhan were murdered for threatening to reveal TMT members who'd bombed mosques. In 1965, Cavusoglu was murdered by the TMT for advocating peace with Turkish Cypriots. And the list goes on. But that's my point about it's not
This is what I'm saying. We could give lists all day long of the same.
I agree. That's
Greek
my point.
nationalists doing the same thing.
That's my point.
But the point I'm making to you about TMT, their sole aim was just to protect Turkish Cypriots.
But clearly it wasn't.
Clearly it wasn't.
We will fact check a couple of them in
Go
a
for
second.
it.
I mean, how can you fact check? Anyone can put anything on.
The main point I'm trying to get to here is that it's a very contentious issue.
Of course it is, yeah.
And Cypriots need to just basically accept what has happened.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest problems for me is Greek Cypriots are struggling to admit they're wrong. We've got even presidents over, what was his name? Papadopoulos. He even said at one point that no Turkish Cypriots had been killed. He said that publicly, openly. For the president of the Republic of Cyprus to say that, and then on top of that, we've got the literature being taught to kids in school in Cyprus, in the books, it is portraying the Greek Cypriots as the victims and the Turkish Cypriots as the aggressors. It's how are we ever going to move into the future if we've got the younger generation being taught all this sort of propaganda, and they're hearing a lot of stories, first-hand stories from their bapu, and we lost our land, we hate them, this and that. It's they're growing up with hatred towards. It is their own people. We need to just, I think, accept the facts, and we need to admit wrong to move into the future. One saying I always live by, and probably everyone's heard me say it a million times, is you can't be wrong and strong, you have to be right to fight. And as a Greek Cypriot, I will put my, I wasn't alive then, but I will put my hands up and say my predecessors did wrong. That's the only way we can ever move into the future. And I think the Turkish Cypriots would love to hear that as well, and that will help us reach a federal solution.
What are they called? TMT?
The TMT, yeah.
Okay.
Look, lots of
TMT.
No, I would ask my question.
Oh, gosh.
The basic.
There we go. Counter Ioka Adenosis. So Ioka, for anyone that doesn't know, Ethniki Organosis Kyprion Agoniston was basically a...
Did TMT do anything?
It was... I'm going to go as far to say...
While TMT claimed to act in defense of the Turkish Cypriot community, it has been accused of multiple controversial and violent actions, including ethnical violence, retaliation, suppression of dissent, involvement in 1963-1964 intercommunal violence, role in 1974.
But this is what I'm saying. There was retaliation. No, I'm not denying. I know there was retaliation. But what is the main role of the TMT?
Main point is they were just for the.
What does it say? What was their main goal?
Okay.
It doesn't matter. It matters what they did.
Anyone's main goal.
But this is what I'm saying. Imagine you're getting bullied because they were only formed because of Ioka. They were only formed because Turkish Cypriots were being attacked.
But it doesn't matter.
Obviously, they went further and did wrong. If you were getting, your cousin or your auntie or your mother just got killed and slaughtered, you're going to feel some resentment and hate.
Well, then you can't say that that's what they were about.
No, but that turned into that. Wasn't say that. Read it. Go on.
Yeah, but it doesn't. You never know what they really was about. If they could turn into that, then how do you know what their intentions were?
I'll read it. So
it doesn't.
The viewers listening right now, we're using ChatGPT, and the question asked was, what was the question? What was the purpose of the TMT in Cyprus? Did they do anything wrong? The Turkish Resistance Organization, the TMT, was a Turkish Cypriot paramilitary group formed in 1958 during the period of rising intercommunal tensions in Cyprus. Its stated purpose was to protect the Turkish Cypriot community and oppose the union of Cyprus with Greece, Inosis, which was being pursued by the Greek Cypriot nationalist group.
So what does that mean to protect the Cypriot community?
But then I think you need to scroll down and read the bit where ChatGPT answers about did they do anything wrong. I think you just read out that first sentence.
Yes,
but the point is, but nobody's denying it. No, but what I'm trying to say is their whole establishment was formed as a result of violence towards them.
When you think about it, what is it to protect? Like, are you saying that they're going to kill people to protect people? Is that what it is?
They were formed to protect Turkish Cypriots.
Paramilitary, though.
Yeah.
They were on smoke from the start.
Don't get it twisted. They were being trained by the Turkish army. Were coming over and teaching them, horrible war tactics. That go on. We've got.
Sorry, just if you would like someone like to repeat this, you're saying the counter to Elga, the counter wasn't unity; it was division. So they were countering Enosis.
With Taksim.
Partition with Taksim.
They did want Taksim. That's a very good point to mention.
Yes, they did.
That's obviously something I don't want and any real Cypriot doesn't want.
Yeah.
But we can't ignore the fact that they were formed as a result of IOCA. If IOCA didn't exist, that wouldn't exist.
Yeah, but they... so that's fine, but they went further, right? They were promoting Taksim, quote ChatGPT about they did do stuff that was wrong, and I gave you some examples earlier.
But this is what I'm saying is a reaction. If all these...
Well, bombing mosques and doing all that sort of stuff. Though.
Well, you haven't fact-checked that bit. I don't know about them bombing mosques. I haven't heard it.
Ethnic violence and retaliation.
Towards Greek Cypriots. There was retaliations. Greek Cypriots did get killed as well. That's a fact.
Okay,
But the point is, we can't ignore the fact that it was started by IOCA. That was the start of the problems. The start of the problems was IOCA, and we had a president, the first president of the Republic of Cyprus, who wanted Inosis, was calling for it openly. The constitution was doomed to fail from the start because we had a president that was not on the side of Cypriots.
Look, I mean, you can debate the history of this. I think the upshot is, both communities did do wrong. And I think actually as Cypriots, we didn't learn to, love, care and work with each other from an early age. I think that's the lesson we should take.
Did they do any super dodgy stuff like bomb mosques?
2 mosques in Nicosia, including the Bayraktar Mosque, were bombed.
Doesn't look good, right?
ChatGPT doesn't agree with you.
I didn't say. I just said I hadn't heard of it, and we can fact check it.
Yeah,
the attack was immediately blamed on Greek Cypriots, sparking violent riots by Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots. Several Greek Cypriots were killed,
and this was in 1958.
Greek shops and homes were attacked.
So this was before all the real beef kicked off.
Yeah. This is the point around people were trying to stoke intercommunal tension, and I think as Cypriots, we need to learn our lesson from that.
Yeah.
That everyone made mistakes, and that's why we just need to move forward and learn the lessons from those mistakes, rather than try to weaponize them to further divide the two communities. We need to look at ways of bringing the communities together.
Yes, TMT did engage in highly deceptive, violent tactics, including bombing their own mosques. Did you fact check it? I'm joking.
I've never heard of that. But yeah.
Oh man.
Yes.
But it's not point scoring here. My point is more, we need to learn the lessons from this and understand that mistakes were made on both sides.
100%. But we also, I think we can't ignore the fact of who started it. If this was a playground fight, who started the fight?
The coup, you saying that's what started it? The whole
No,
thing?
it happened long before 19. This is another problem with the Cyprus issue. A lot of Greek Cypriots believe it started in 1974. It didn't start in 1974. It started a decade, even more than that. Well, yeah, more than 2 decades before that.
When do you think it started? When do you think did it really actually start?
Well, but when did what start?
The whole beef. Oh, actually, I don't
The
know.
Cyprus issue.
What am I asking?
Well, look, I mean, you could go back to the struggle for independence, right? You could go way back, but it depends. That's why I think it's unhelpful to say when did it start. You have different points in history. You have the struggle for independence,
And they all overlap.
Yeah, and they all overlap. They're all sequential to each other.
And it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's why my point is more, let's deal with the facts as we have them today and figure out how we reunite the island and the occupation. That's my primary concern,
Yeah,
because that's what
yeah.
people are living through today.
That's it, yeah. But
what
I
you've been
do
saying.
feel personally that a part of that is to address the past, and to answer your question, I would say with the start of IOCA was probably the start of the Cyprus issue. But obviously at that point there, IOCA, they were started in the 50s or whatever. Their main goal was to liberate Cyprus from the Brits.
Exactly.
But one of the horrible parts of that was because they wanted to liberate it from the Brits, but join the island with Greece. That was their primary goal. And joining the island with Greece doesn't align with the sovereignty of Cyprus. And we want to be Cyprus. But we can't be Cyprus if we're waving Greek flags and Enosis flags walking down the road, and that still happens today, doesn't it?
But look, I mean,
I really don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, go for it, man.
I just want to make the point, and I think we can settle on blaming someone else rather than the Greeks and the Turks. We can blame the British as this being a symptom of British colonialism, because during the World Wars, Britain offered the Greek Cypriots Enosis for as a reward for joining the war. It didn't happen, so that's why the Greeks then started resisting. And then the British hired Turkish Cypriots to
Counter the IOCA.
counter. And this is it was a playbook. Just like with India and Pakistan,
Yep.
or then Hindus and Muslims, the British were doing the same textbook tactics. So rather than blaming the Greeks and the Turks, this is a symptom of British colonialism.
I want to be very clear. I'm not putting blame on anyone, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not blame. It's acceptance that I'm asking for. That's all it is. Because 100% we know Britain, they are known for it. It's the oldest playbook in the world. Divide and conquer.
Yeah.
They create tensions and then they step in with the solution. Here we are with the solution. And then it always results in them having some sort of sovereign British territories or, having some sort of control over somewhere. That's the oldest play in the book. But as Cypriots, to move into the future, we need to recognise the past. And that's all I'm saying is we need to accept, we were played like a fiddle.
yeah.
That is it.
It does sound like you were blaming a little bit though, because you want someone to take
It's not
accountability
blame,
for
it's
it.
acceptance.
But
Like,
acceptance
it's
means you
acceptance.
are blaming someone though, isn't it? Because it has to be
Well,
someone's fault.
Look,
to
like I
accept
just said
it.
a minute ago, we've got a problem today is the younger generation, a lot of them don't fully know the facts of how it started. They're being taught wrong facts in school. They're hearing it from presidents. They're, hearing it from family members, friends, and all sorts of things. And that's not accepting what happened in the past. And for a Turkish Cypriot to see that happening, they're always going to want Taksim or a divided island. Like there's a massive percentage of Turkish Cypriots that want that. And if they see Greek Cypriots not accepting what happened in the past and showing negative feelings and hate, can you imagine how that's going to make you feel?
Yeah, but look, that's why me personally as a federation, we condemn the period of intercommunal violence. We condemn the coup, because you're right, that was not a great part of Cyprus's history for anyone.
Yeah.
But we need to move forward and look at what we do in the future.
Yeah.
Because
We've got to remember, Greek and Turkish Cypriots, we are literally brothers and sisters. Yeah. We are brothers. The only difference we literally have is a religion. That is it. Our food, our culture, we're exactly the same. And looking at us like a family, can you imagine if look at this like a family arguing. They did something wrong, but they don't want to accept it. You're kind of never gonna get over it until that's accepted. All right, they did something wrong. Then it's a very sensitive issue. We can have all politicians and outside forces trying to argue and come to peace talks and whatever, but it's never going to be accepted by the people until we have a more intimate sort of agreement.
How is that acceptance look to you? Is it like the Prime Minister just accepting blame?
It literally just everything. You know, we need to stop. For starters, Greek Cypriots need to stop waving Greece flags, calling for a gnosis, teaching, you know, to the kids that the Turks were the aggressors, and all of that doesn't matter. We just need to accept, you know, the facts of what happened, and then we can, like, as a family, move into the future.
But so, look, I don't think Greek Cypriot politicians aren't calling for enosis.
Well, I mean, they did in the past, didn't they?
They did in the past, but that's not today.
The new ones now, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like it's not happening today. But you know,
well, there is some Greek politicians I've heard doing it, but
yeah, but equally, in any society, in any political system, you're going to have diverging points of view. What matters is the person that is the head of that, you know, state and what they say. And Christos Karaolis has been very clear that he wants reunification in line with the agreed UN framework. You know, he wants to restart talks. He's been pushing for a UN envoy. He's been pushing for an EU envoy. He's been pushing for. He's been talking to the EU about what benefits could accrue to Turkey to create a positive incentive for Turkey to come back to the talks on the agreed UN framework. He's done everything he can, but at the moment he's not being met, not even halfway, but any part of the way, by Turkey or Tatar. You know, so. That's where we currently find ourselves.
Yeah, but I think on a more like intimate level, and this is why we've seen, you know, previous plans fail, is because the people aren't being involved in it, aren't being considered. Yeah. This is ultimately why the Annan plan failed.
Yeah, exactly.
Turkish Cypriots, I think they want unification with the island. I think they want it so bad that they're willing to, you know, drop some of their, you know, wants and needs, but.
You find out in the next election, really, if that's what they want.
Well, it's not yeah. I mean,
because if they vote for that,
the 19th of October will be will be very telling.
Yeah. We're seeing a sort of fork in the road. We're gonna it could go either way. But I think definitely, you know,
and it'll be indicative. Sorry, it'll be indicative of what Turkey wants as well, right?
Yeah,
because
they're so different.
Because Turkey has a massive say in what happens in the north, so it will also be an indication of whether Turkey is interested in these incentives that President Christos Karaolis is talking about for progress on the Cyprus issue. So it will give you a very strong indication both of what Turkish Cypriot people want. Although I have to say, there's lots of like settlers and there's issues around who votes in the north, right? So it, to the extent to which indicative of, you know, the will of the Turkish Cypriots, we don't know. But you have to take it at face value. But also Turkey as well. Like, you can't miss the Turkey dynamic.
So you're saying there's loads of plants in there. There's going to be lots of people that aren't really from Cyprus.
They're not Cypriots. They're Turkish. They come from Turkey mainland.
Some can. We don't know. There's no hard stats on it.
That's a bit mad.
It's difficult to say. You're right. It's going to be a rocky election.
Yeah.
There was a recent poll that we were talking about the other day that shows that Erdogan seems to have a little small percentage lead, but that could push it over to the win. But we just have to wait and see.
Yeah. So it's because there's not hard data, there's not reliable polling.
Yeah.
There's not the kind of stuff you might have, say, here in the UK that gives you a decent indication of what's happening on the ground. Yeah. You kind of you and plus, you know, when they had the last elections between Akinci and Tatar, Turkey was, you know, literally in the north. There's reports of them conducting like mass electoral interference. So it's because it's such a small demographic, it can be heavily influenced by Turkey at pretty short notice. So we need to wait and see.
Jeez.
One thing's for sure, Turkey doesn't want to leave their, you know, they want their feet in Cyprus. That's 100%. The same way the Brits want their feet in Cyprus, or we've got like US troops permanently stationed in Cyprus. You know, no one wants to get their feet out of Cyprus. And this is what I've wanted all along. I just want everyone out, and we just need the Republic of Cyprus, or the United Republic of Cyprus, to.
I think I mean, Cyprus's location right in the heart of the East Med.
Yeah, it's
exactly why Cyprus has been invaded and conquered by pretty much everyone.
Every major civilization since the dawn.
Because it's it's a strategic. I think Churchill described it as the unsinkable battleship carrier in the Eastern Mediterranean, which is exactly what it is, right? I mean, it's strategic location, but equally, my argument is that strategic location post reunification is an incredible asset for the people of Cyprus, because you will end up with a reunited island post, if you get there, that is able to trade simultaneously with every other country in the region. Because the second you unlock Turkey, you unlock a lot of other things. So Dubai would be nothing compared to Cyprus.
Cyprus, you're right, it has the potential to be a major...
It also has EU, right? It's a gateway for anyone looking to trade with the EU into Western Europe or the Middle East or, Africa. Like its location would make it a jewel in the absolute crown.
Yeah.
Which is why there's a lot to fight for on the reunification front, and which is why we keep beating the drum, because the prize is incredible for the people of Cyprus.
Yeah. I really like you, man. But yeah, no, you have to look at as well, even the Cypriot pound, I think before the Republic of Cyprus entered into the EU, it was stronger than the British pound.
Yeah, exactly.
It was literally, I think it was almost like 2 for 1 or something.
Yeah,
even more.
Yeah.
Like Cyprus has the potential to be a massive player on the world stage.
Yeah. But for an island so small, it could have a huge influence because of where it is, because of the bilateral agreements it's got, because the second you get the two communities working together, you unlock like the Christian and the Muslim world. And in a region of the world where that's actually quite troubled.
Yeah.
Now
we're seeing massive tensions all over the world.
You would send an incredibly positive signal.
Amazing.
So let's say next week in the elections that
not next month.
Next month.
Yeah, a few weeks.
What's the both of the names? I'm really sorry. I can't remember.
Ersin Tadar and Erguman. Erguman is pro unification under a federal solution, and Ersin Tadar is the current incumbent who wants a 2-state Taksim solution.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to find out what the people want, but we might not, because there might be people that are from mainland Turkey that might vote and sway the decision.
Put it this way,
wouldn't that make the people that are there, that actually live in Cyprus, and they're probably fed up with all this stuff to some degree?
No, they are. Though.
Wouldn't it make them go mad and it might cause riots and stuff if the wrong person gets elected?
I wouldn't go as far to say.
Could it cause problems? Basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it could. Yeah,
like on the ground problems. So that's what we might expect as well.
Yeah, one thing's for sure is Cypriots are definitely frustrated with this. Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots.
Yeah.
So even if they do try and mess around with the votes and do all that, the people aren't going to have it.
Well,
again, it depends. So there were after the last elections when Tatar won, and there was very kind of widely reported electoral interference by Turkey. There were mass demonstrations, but you have 40,000 Turkish troops in the north of the island, and now the reports it's up to 100,000. Right, it's been jacked up very recently. They can really control, right? Turkey will control the outcome, which is why I'm saying it's also indicative of what Turkey wants in terms of the outcome. Because if they want to sway it, they will. If they don't, then they won't.
And as far as fraudulent elections go, in that part of the world is probably rife.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But for just to be clear, whoever's elected is going to be the leader of the Turkish Cypriot community, and they will be the person at the negotiation table, right? So you're going to have to deal with that person. Rightly so, you're going to have to deal with that person.
But the only difference is, whether it's Ersin Tadar, he doesn't want to negotiate.
Yeah.
That's the only problem here.
That's kind of mad.
It's a difficult time, but it's a pivot moment now on the Cyprus issue. So we all wait to see what happens.
I don't know why, but sometimes I have these, wild thoughts in my head and whatever. And I start, sometimes I go really positive, sometimes really pessimistic. But my pessimistic thoughts now, I feel like we might have a whole new Cyprus issue on the horizon with Israel trying to step in, get their feet in the door at the moment.
Israel's trying to get involved. I don't even know about it.
What's your thoughts on that?
Look, I mean, what specifically are you referring to? What the joint?
So they've there's been reports of them opening up intelligent data centers within the Republic of Cyprus. They've also sold, I think it was last year in October or November, they sold their air defense systems to Cyprus. There's been various meetings between the Republic of Cyprus and Israel. You know, Netanyahu coming there. They seem very powly. And not to mention, you know, everyone's heard it, you know, Israeli citizens are, you know, flooding over onto Cyprus, buying up vast amounts of land. You know, this is the playbook, you know, Israel Zionist sort of strategy that we've seen in the past everywhere.
Look, I mean, so obviously the geographical fact is that Israel is a very close neighbor of Cyprus. And it's probably Cyprus's most... it's powerful neighbor, bar Turkey.
Yeah.
And my argument would be, this is exactly why you need a solution to the Cyprus issue, because if the government of Cyprus is sitting there going, how do we protect our people and whatever else from an increasingly aggressive Turkey? Maybe, I don't know the details of it, but I can understand that a conclusion might be, well, let's look to work with Israel which
this is what I fear, my anxiety, because...
Yeah, but that leads you to the conclusion of, for those people that fear that, that's why you need a solution, because the way you unlock that dynamic is take the threat of Turkey away. I can see why the government might be saying, we might need to do it as a bulwark against Turkey, but the way you deal with that is resolve the Cyprus issue.
Yeah, but that in itself is... another issue that I fear would happen, because once Israel get their feet in, are they ever going to leave?
Yeah, and post-solution, it will all be up for grabs, right? Because you're going to be deciding what the new security framework is for the island. So post-solution, it will all be up for grabs, and because it will be a reset of. Just to be clear, it would have to be an evolution of the Republic of Cyprus for technical reasons, because the Republic of Cyprus is a member of the UN, it's a member of the EU. I don't think any Turkish Cypriots want to not be EU members, right? Which is why which is why you're talking about any solution needs to be converting the existing unitary Republic of Cyprus into a federal Republic of Cyprus, because otherwise you're talking about reapplying to the UN, reapplying to the EU, reapplying to the Commonwealth, which neither Greek Cypriots nor Turkish Cypriots want. And so as you reconstitute or, you know, evolve that state, the security framework, everything would be up for grabs.
Yeah. So that is literally my point, what I was trying to say there. I think Cyprus needs to hurry up and resolve this issue.
Yeah, I agree.
We have sharks circling round and lurking on our beautiful island. The sharks are definitely circling at the moment.
It's a strategic pillar. I don't blame the sharks.
Yeah.
Like, you should look at what can we do to get the issue resolved so that Cypriots can get control of the whole island, and so that you can take down those anxieties, those concerns that exist between the two communities.
Yeah.
Because look around here where we live in North London, you have Greek and Turkish Cypriots everywhere. You don't see the same level of hostility, anxiety, suspicion, trouble. You don't see any of that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we're literally living side by side.
Yeah.
Why can't that happen in Cyprus? We have literally this part of Wood Green is probably the heart of it, right? Why if we can do it here, why can't we do it in Cyprus? Yeah. Right? We are a fantastic role model of what is achievable in a united Federal Republic of Cyprus.
Yeah. And that is when my positive thoughts always kick in like that.
but my view is, what's the alternative? Well, just sitting back and accepting that's it. That's what we need to live with. That's what we need to. No, my view is you need to be out there beating the drum for reunification of the island. Because if we don't beat that drum, nobody's going to beat it for us.
Yeah, and we're always going to the island's just basically going to have so many different powerhouses putting their fingers and getting their feet in the door. Eventually, Cyprus will lose its identity, I think.
Yeah.
If we don't resolve that issue. Yeah.
Completely agree. I mean, that's got to be the focus post the 19th of October. And look, whoever wins, we need that. The minds that are working on this issue, be it the UN or be it, you know, the Greek or Turkish Cypriots, they need to figure out how to get through it. because we need to see a reunited island.
Well, that's when my negative thoughts kick in, because I don't think, I think the Western powerhouses of the world, they don't want a united island because that's how they keep their feet on the ground in Cyprus.
But look, possibly, the other lens on it might be that, take the UK government, for example. Do you think the UK government finds it helpful that whenever they go and meet Erdogan or whichever Turkish leader, you've always got that niggling Cyprus issue on the agenda? Whenever you're trying to talk about bilateral relations with Turkey, you've always got that slightly awkward discussion about Cyprus. So yes, one view is that it allows them to kind of divide and conquer and keep a foot on the other argument is, as you look at the UK's bilateral relationship with Turkey, do you really think it's helpful having this thorn in the side of it? Maybe for the UK, you'd want that resolved, because then it means when you go and talk to Turkey bilaterally, you don't have to have this awkward last agenda item that nobody really wants to talk about.
I think there has been British politicians not even that long ago. I think it was Jack Straw. He basically said, I think actually the solution is just to leave the island separated.
I disagree with him.
I disagree with him. I'm with you there all the way. Yeah. But I'm just saying there is, it worries me when, you have politicians like Jack Straw saying that.
You do, but equally you've got, it's the stated position of every government that the only solution that they will countenance is the reunification of the island, right? They won't countenance anything other than that. So, yes, there might be an individual politician. I actually don't think there's that many who openly talk about partition other than Jack Straw, who's actually...
Well, it is actually, sorry to cut in, there's a lot of Muslim countries. I think it was something like 56 countries. I can't remember off the top of their head. We can check this in a second. But they are starting to show support for a two-state solution now. Yeah,
but that support doesn't mean anything unless it's actual recognition.
100%,
right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, is this possibly where it's heading if we just continue with the current status quo? Is that what's going to happen eventually? Maybe in another 20, 50 years, someone will eventually recognise Northern Cyprus as a country other than Turkey?
I don't think so, because, well, for one, anyone that wants to have a relationship with the EU, the Republic of Cyprus is a member. If a country that wants to have a relationship with the EU recognises the North as an illegal regime, you might find Cyprus, through the EU, determining what the relationship is with that country, right? So I think there's obviously that as the first thing. The second thing is, for lots of countries that have separatist issues, they're not going to want to recognise another country on the island of Cyprus because it creates domestic problems. So you're going to have countries flirting with it, but nobody. I doubt people are going to go as far as recognition, right?
Time will tell.
Time will tell. I agree. Time will tell.
Recently, we've had, yourself, because we had what was his name? Adnan Khan. I think he was an MP from somewhere in
Manchester, Russia.
Yeah, he did an official state visit to Northern Cyprus, was it? Or an unofficial, unofficial visit, and you successfully applied pressure to the Labour government, and he had to resign from it. Did he resign, or was he?
The official story is he resigned.
He resigned, okay. If he didn't, he would have got that.
Well, you may very well say that I couldn't possibly comment. Look, what he did was unacceptable. And just to be really clear, what we were not saying was there should be no contact with Turkish Cypriots, right? Because, Stephen Doughty has gone to the north. Wendy Morton, when she was Europe Minister, when British government officials go to the north, they go, when there are talks in progress, they always fly into a legal port of entry of the Republic of Cyprus, be it, Larnaca, Paphos or wherever. And when they go and visit the leader of the Turkish Cypriot community, it's under very controlled circumstances, i.e. there are no flags, no symbols, no titles, no nothing, right? So it's right that there should be engagement because the UK is a guarantor power and they need to engage with the Turkish Cypriot leadership when there are talks happening, right? That's always happened. The difference with this situation was you had someone who carries a government title, okay, albeit a trade envoy, but it's a government title all the same, who flew into an illegal port of entry, Ercan,
Ercan.
who was met by a delegation with flags and symbols, who saw Tatar, again with flags and symbols. So it was a complete breach of the established protocols. And that's why it was so troublesome. It wasn't that it's about there should be no engagement with Turkish Cypriots, because when British government officials have gone under the kind of controlled circumstances that exist, we've never made an issue of it or complained about it, because it needs to happen as part of facilitating successful
100%.
talks.
We're never going to get anywhere if we don't talk.
What Mr. Khan did was a complete breach of those established protocols.
It's sus, basically.
You can describe it in that way.
Well,
but yeah, I mean, it's a complete breach.
Yeah, I didn't want to sort of bring religion into this or whatever, but I just think it was some sort of solidarity for another Muslim country or whatever. You know, we're seeing a lot of that lately with politicians. They're all over the world.
But look, I don't know what his motivations were, but it was more, for me, it was, and for the broader community, it was about the message that is sent, and the way it was being portrayed, right? You would have seen it was being portrayed as an official visit. You said it yourself. It wasn't.
Yeah.
The British government was crystal clear that they did not know about it. They did not sanction it. They did not approve it. He went completely off his own volition. So it was being used and portrayed for false propaganda, to your point of advancing this idea that solidarity and support is being shown by other countries. It wasn't. There's literally no change in British government position. And the British government, to its credit, was very quick and clear to clarify that.
Yeah.
But again, it was being misused for propaganda purposes. So it was right that it was corrected by him resigning.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. I think I agree with you there on the legality and the guidance and, you know, all the protocols that are in place. He definitely went against them and broke them.
Yeah.
Right, I'm very well aware of the time, conscious of it. We've gone just a little bit over an hour now.
It does not feel like that.
I know, I told you that, innit?
Yeah.
You just chatted. We could sit here for another 2 hours probably and
It does
carry
not
on. I
feel
know.
like that at all.
But I will definitely at some point in the future be inviting you back.
I'd love to come back.
Yeah, I'd love to
I've
get
really
you back
enjoyed the
on.
conversation.
Yeah, it was amazing, yeah. But is there anything else you want to add into this before we wrap it up? Do you want to tell us a little bit about, give some information about the Federation and any things you've got planned in the future? Or
Look, anyone who's interested to know more about the Federation, you can visit our website, cypriotfederation.org.uk. We're on social media at UK Cypriot Fed. But like I said, our core mission is to get our beautiful island reunited.
I'm gonna shake your hand on that one, brother. That's always been my sort of, like, I sort of fantasize about it sometimes.
Let's make it a reality.
Yeah, let's make it a reality. Donny, anything else you want to add?
No. That was very good for my brain today. Yeah. I'm gonna have to look up a few words, but in general, yeah, it was good, man. That cleared a lot of stuff up.
Yeah, wicked.
Yeah, good stuff.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. It's very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We've got some stuff to do though before.
Right, yeah, before we wrap up, there's two things I always ask everyone to do at the end of every podcast.
Okay.
So firstly, give us it can be like some words of inspiration, it can be your slogan, it can be just anything you want to tell. It can be a few words long, a few sentences, a paragraph, just something you want to put out there to the world.
Never give up the hope and the dream of a free united Cyprus.
I love that. Come on, yes.
There you go. That was good.
And then, which brings me on to my next one.
Right.
So everyone, I ask everyone at the end of every interview to say, "Hey, come on." It's basically my slogan. Give me your "Hey, come on." It's my catchphrase.
Yeah.
Hey, come on.
Yes. That's one.
That's perfect.
Yes.
Did that work? Okay, good. I'm glad.
That's it. We're done.
Wicked.
Over and out.
That's it.
All right. Cool.
Yes.